Guys, happy Friday. We've all heard the term underwriting, but what the heck is it? Today, we're going to give you the answer.
You better get fired up.
My man, Nate Jomaa, coming back for the third week in a row, brother. I appreciate you.
It's a three-peat. Here I am.
Three-peat. Yeah, get used to it, baby. It's like the Bulls back in the 90s. This is great.
Right. That's right.
So I appreciate you coming on. Just really adding value, which is my whole goal. Just trying to give buyers, sellers, and agents as much value as we can. Underwriting is something that everybody's heard of, but I don't know how many buyers, sellers, and even agents truly know what the heck it is. So tell me, what is it, and what does that process of underwriting really look like behind the scenes?
Yeah, so underwriting essentially is going to be, we've gone through all of the pre-review of the income, assets, all of those things. We now have a contract, and we are looking to get into the really deep nitty-gritty and make sure that this buyer is a qualified buyer. A lot of people seem to forget we're giving hundreds of thousands of dollars out here. So we will absolutely uncover everything. We will get that onion peeled back, and we will look at everything. So it's a high stakes, in-depth review of everybody's income, their assets, and their credit eligibility in order to buy, because they're asking for a lot of money.
So let me ask you this. If I go in and I buy a car, it's going to take me 2-3 hours to hear back. Even if I'm buying a $70,000, $80,000 car, it's going to take me 2-3 hours to hear back on whether or not I can do it. When I'm going to buy a house, it usually takes about 30 to 45 days. Even if I've got a quick lender, it might take me 2-3 weeks. What's the difference there?
Well, great. So we're looking at 5-year terms, 4-year terms, 3-year terms on auto loans. So the lenders are able to get in and get out pretty quickly because these are very short-term loans. When you're buying a home, it's way more complicated. You don't buy a vehicle and register that vehicle with the property appraiser. You don't file paperwork with the clerk of the courts. A mortgage is much more in depth. And for you to look at a real estate transaction, there's so many different moving pieces that are going on. And it's a 20-year, 30-year, marriage, if you will. The people are buying this house. Now, they may not be in the house for that long, Joe. You know that. But if they are, we need to prepare for the what ifs.
Yeah, that makes sense. That kind of gets me thinking, too. We've all been in that situation, both, I guess, as buyer's agents and as listing agents, where you're excited that things going to close. Your sellers or your buyers are happy that they're going to get the house. And all of a sudden, maybe a week before closing, the lender calls and says, hey, underwriting got back to us. We got a problem. I don't think it's going to close. What are maybe 2 or 3 of those things that would cause that to happen? And the reason I ask is everybody involved, including the buyer, including the agents, want to know, how do I mitigate this to the greatest extent?
Sure. So one of the primary things that causes that to happen is going to be some sort of change of circumstance, whether it be related to income, assets, or credit, which are the 3 primary pillars when it comes to looking through underwriting. It's not all 3, but it's 3 of the primary ones. So somebody might have an income change because maybe unforeseen, they got laid off. Maybe they got fired. Something like that could happen, and it absolutely will derail a loan. Another thing that happens, we pray it doesn't, but it does happen every now and then, is they have unexpected expenses that come their way, and now they do not have the cash to close.
Yeah.
We ask always up front to verify that there's a cushion there. We want to show that there's X number of months of reserves, but it's happened more than once where there's been some catastrophic event happen, and we've depleted their assets to the point where they physically cannot close on time. We've had to extend contracts, or in some cases, they've said, look, I'm going to take my losses. I'm going to accept that I'm losing my escrow deposit, but I've got to go. And another thing, and this is the one that we see more often, unfortunately, even though we do a bang up job up front making sure that we explain this, is they either ask for credit for something, or they buy a car or a boat or who knows what. Around Christmas time, I seem to lose more deals because people go to Kohl's and they want that Kohl's cash 20% nonsense.
Yep.
I mean, as simple as opening up a charge card can derail a loan.
Yeah.
So don't do it.
So from the time you get approved until the time you close, which guys, it's not that long, it's a month or two.
Yeah.
Be the most boring financial person on the planet.
Yeah,
Is that what
really.
you're saying?
I joke about it, Joe, and I say, hey, if you're going to go to Publix and buy a pub sub, I need to know. You
Yes.
call me first.
Yep.
Do not spend money. But and that's an
True.
exaggeration. But in seriousness, I mean, it happens, and it absolutely can derail a deal, and
Yep.
and it's miserable for everybody.
Yeah. So sometimes we've got lenders that we work with. I don't know if you do this or not, where we've got pre-underwriting. It can speed up the actual closing. Maybe instead of 30 to 45 days, we've got 2 weeks, something like that. Is that something you offer? And whether you do or not, how does that work? What does it mean?
Sure. Yeah. So we do what I classify as a full pre-approval with every person that comes through the door, which means that we're verifying income, assets, credit, and we're getting that AUS that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. But in some cases, yes, we do a pre-underwrite. And what that basically means, we're taking the entire file and we're submitting it to underwriting as if we have a contract. And the underwriter, within about a 24-hour period, will turn around and give us back that conditional approval as a TBD pending a contract. And then once we get the contract in, obviously we've got to get a real estate appraisal. You've got to do the inspections and stuff. So we've got probably at least maybe a 10 to 14 day period after that happens before we can settle. But we do that whenever it's needed. If we have a deal that looks like it's super, super clean, we may not need to do that because that's just going to bog down underwriting for the rest of the deals that are coming through. But if it looks like it's one of those deals that, maybe there's a question, or maybe we just want to know that we know that we know, we can do that. And we do that a lot.
I like the way you started that. You said, hey, we get really deep in everything and we give a full pre-approval. As a listing agent and a seller, when we get an offer, I can tell you from experience, I've gotten offers before and the pre-approval says, hey, we've checked credit, we've checked income, we've checked debt, we've checked everything out about these people. They're good to go. 6 days later, I get a phone call from the lender that says, hey, we found all this debt. It's a big problem. And I'm thinking, how in the hell did you not see that if you did all the research you said you did? So my question is this: how much faith can anybody truly put into a pre-approval, number one? And number two, how does a listing agent and a seller best determine if that buyer and that lender are as strong as they say they are? What's our evaluation process that you as a lender would recommend us using?
Sure. So if it's somebody that you're familiar with, I mean, obviously you may not need to go through the checks and balances, but if it's somebody that you're not familiar with, I would think my first call would be to that lender to just ask them some questions. Ask them some questions about what did you verify. Now, as a listing agent, you're not going to be able to get specific details, but I get calls all the time and I proactively make the calls because I don't want the listing agents curious. I say, hey, Mr. Jones submitted an offer at, 321 Mango Street, and I'm the lender and I verified his income. I verified his assets. We've reviewed credit. Like, this is a verified file. This is a pre-approved file. And to your point, Joe, and I made a video about this that hasn't been posted yet. It's coming soon, about these fake pre-approval letters. I keep seeing them more often than not. Now I'm doing these rescue deals where, Billy Bob at XYZ Mortgage, in some place that you've never heard of, that I've never heard of, is writing pre-approval letters for people. And they're totally bogus, meaning that they didn't verify anything.
Yeah.
When you talk to, and this goes out to listing agents and consumers alike that are going to watch this. If you talk to somebody on the phone and they don't ask you to verify any information, and the next thing you know, you have a letter in your inbox that says you're pre-approved, tear it up, throw it away, and call into the Nate Jomaa team, because you're not pre-approved. You're not even pre-qualified at that point. If nobody's asked you the questions that matter, it's trash and you don't want to work with them. And another thing you can do as a list agent is I would call other agents and just say, hey, or people not randomly, because nobody wants that. But have you heard of Nate Jomaa? Is Nate Jomaa a good guy? Does he get the loans closed? Ask questions, because maybe you don't know them, but a lot of other agents might.
So we've got, and maybe explain what these are a little bit. We've got DUs, LPs.
Mhm.
How much weight do they carry in a listing agent and seller's evaluation of that buyer, assuming that that buyer has approved us seeing those?
It's only as good as the inputs that are going in, Joe. So if somebody is putting in to DU to LP unverified information, you're going to get a false positive a few times. I mean, that's why I said a few moments ago, we do a full pre-approval up front. I won't even run DU until I verified income, I verified assets, and I've looked at credit. Because whatever I put into DU, it's an automated underwriting system. That's what AUS is, automated underwriting system. It's just looking at my inputs. It's not smart enough to know if I actually did my work before I did it.
Yes.
So if you're getting a DU and it says, hey, approve eligible, great buyer, you still need to find out, did the lender actually ask the questions? Did they actually obtain the documents? And did they actually physically put eyes onto these things and approve them before AUS? Because before it gets to AUS, I already know if I'm going to get an approval. AUS is just my second eyes on it, because I already know, because I've looked at their income, I've looked at their assets, I've looked at their credit, and I've been doing this long enough that I know if we have a deal or we don't.
I don't think a lot of buyers fully understand how much they set themselves back in their negotiation abilities by going with someone that nobody's ever heard of.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And I'll give the example that all of us realtors cringe when we see is a Quicken or a Rocket, or when you see those words, you're thinking, I got a 50-50 shot here. Let's see what happens. Roll the dice. We'll see.
Yeah.
And it's because they're putting so many marketing dollars into getting mass amounts of people. And in my opinion, their process is to push them through as quickly as possible, right? So just give them a letter. Let's see if it sticks.
Yeah.
And
yeah, exactly.
It's a phenomenal process for creating profits, but it is a horrible process for one specific seller who's got one offer, right?
Yeah.
And a buyer has every right to choose the lender that they want to choose, but I don't think they fully understand that when I've got 2-3 offers and one has a local lender and I know who they are, they've got a great reputation, and your offer is someone I've never heard of from Louisville and I'm in Port St. Lucie, Florida, or it says Quicken or Rocket, you are automatically starting out with a red flag against you. And even if I only have one offer, maybe we would have taken something 5-10 grand under. Maybe we would have taken something contingent on the sale of your home, or whatever little issues we've got with it. But as soon as you add another red flag, I think, guys, we got to get through the sale contingency. We got to get through this. We got to get through this. And then I don't even know how solid the lender is because I've never heard of them before. So I can tell you from my experience how many times I've said, listen, buyer, I appreciate that you're working with such and such lender, but I really would recommend talking to this local lender I trust. The worst thing that's going to happen is the local lender that I trust is going to say some term or number or whatever that you're not going to like, and you're going to go with the one you're already with. But that will make you feel even more confident in the one that you're already working with, and it'll have cost you 20, 30 minutes. I can't suggest it enough. And a lot of them don't do it. And I really see them putting themselves behind the 8 ball in the negotiation process. I just want to bring that up and say, do you see any of that in your negotiations or your interactions with a lot of these listing agents?
Yeah, I do. And I'll name names just right along with you here. So the better.com, Rocket, all of them, they're call centers. And there's nothing wrong with call centers. Listen, I worked in call centers for a long time as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to financial services in a call center, that's where I'm a little skeptical, and I'm an inside guy. I'm a lender. You're going to call and you're going to get the next guy in queue. And it could be Joe Rosen, it could be Nate Jomaa, or it could be anybody else down the row here. Yeah. And they're going to take your call and they're going to do the bare minimum because they know as soon as they hang up with you, there's another call coming through. Ding, 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 call. These guys are not doing a full investigation. And you're going to have a bear of a time trying to call back and get that same guy again. So on the listing side, if you want to get some information and verify Joe Smith, you're not going to be able to do it because you're not going to get the same guy. You're going to get some other guy or somebody that's in some pod with the guy. So more and more I'm seeing that these folks are not getting their offers accepted because of that trust factor.
Yep.
Again, the buyer has the right to choose whomever they want. So if I'm just dead set on using Rocket, I have to reconcile that I may not get as many at bats as the other guy that's working with somebody here locally.
Yes. And in all honesty, I've seen a lot of great local lenders with phenomenal reputations beat Rocket Mortgage. They'll have better terms, lower costs, better rates, whatever it is.
Of course.
Not to mention, which maybe you don't care about on day one, but I promise you will when there's an issue, they have way better customer service, right? So unquestionably. Now I'm going to ask you a question off the cuff.
Okay.
Eric Rosberg just put a comment up. I put it up, but you were talking there.
Okay.
Nate is 100% on target, right? Loves you. Now I'm going to tell everybody else, Eric Rosberg is also an incredible, intelligent, hardworking lender. And I see both of you guys were with other companies.
Yes.
And now in the last couple of weeks, you both went to the same company.
Yes.
Something's going on. What's attracting guys like you to that company? Why did you move?
I can't speak for Eric, but I can tell you that for me, it was all about being able to put a better first foot forward, having more opportunities, having better opportunities where we are now at U Mortgage from where I came from. And I have no disrespect and I have nothing negative to say about where I came from. So if you're watching from there, this is not a bash that company. I'm just saying I had to do what was best for my business, which includes all of the real estate agents I work with, all of the buyers that I work with, and being able to give them a service level that is unmatched and unparalleled by anybody else. And I mean, I can guarantee you that Eric probably has a very similar sentiment because we didn't work at the same company before. So it's not like we came over together, but he and I had talked, and I know that some of the very same reasons why I made the move was the same reasons that Eric made the move. And it's just because we want to be able to better serve our customers who are not just the buyers, but the real estate agents that we work with hand in hand.
Well, and I'll tell you too, as someone representing a buyer, I think it's really important to work. I don't know if a lot of buyers know this. If you go to Wells Fargo does a ton of mortgages. The Wells Fargo has Wells Fargo products and Wells Fargo products only. So if you fit into one of those products, you're going to have a great experience. If you don't fit into one of those products, Wells Fargo has nothing else to offer you. Right. So there's a lot of lenders who work with a company that company is limited on what they can offer. Maybe they don't have new construction financing. Maybe they don't have vacant land financing. Maybe they don't have financing for people who are 1099 and they can only show a year worth of income. Maybe they don't have statement only loans. Maybe they don't, all kinds of loans out there for all the weird things that like unique people are going to fit into, right? None of us are normal. We've all got something weird about us, especially when you're looking into our financials. So for me, it is a huge deal to work with someone who's got a lot of options for my buyers versus a company that maybe you've got the best lender on the planet, but if they've only got a handful of options for my buyers, I'm kind of, I'm tied up there.
For sure. Yeah. Now that goes into what I was speaking to, where I have just way more opportunities to better serve everybody because I'm not captive to that box. Like you said, use Wells Fargo as an example. If my products at Wells Fargo don't fit your buyer's mold, I have to say, sorry, Joe, I can't help. But I have an opportunity here where I've got dozens of lenders at my disposal. And if it doesn't fit into this box, it may well fit into this box. And I will find the right box, the right program, the right price for the buyers.
So looking at, kind of what we were just talking about right there, I'm thinking as a realtor, what would a similarity be? And I'm making this up on the spot, but I think a similarity would be is if I worked at a brokerage and they said, Joe, you can only sell homes from 400,000 to 500,000, and they have to have 3 bedrooms. If they have 2, you can't sell them. If they have 4, you can't sell them. Go. I'm going to think, holy crap. I am very limited in what I could. Maybe I'm the best realtor in the world. Maybe I'm not. it really doesn't matter. I'm really limited on what I can offer people. Why would any lender be attracted to that?
Yeah, it's a funny question. I mean, I agree. And I don't know. I did it for years. And in the back of my mind, I always knew that I kind of had these opportunities that came my way that I wasn't
Yeah.
able to do anything with. And, the world right now, especially with what's going on in our, financial and economic markets and everything, you have to be able to have these products that fit outside of the square that everybody else is operating in. And so being a broker, I have the ability, and we have the ability to really shine and make some things happen that I had to before say I can't do.
Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you doing all these great, valuable videos with me here. I'll ask you one last time. Is there anything else you want to throw out for buyers, even sellers, in evaluating their buyers? Any last tips?
So I'll tell you, if you get a pre-approval letter in from a lender and you're not sure who this person is, you can go to NMLS Consumer Access. I don't know if it's the web address, but if you Google NMLS Consumer Access, you can put in that person's NMLS number, which is our nationwide mortgage licensing number. That's a unique identifier. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. And you can look up that person by their NMLS number or by their name. And you can kind of see, if this guy works in a call center, because you can tell by where they work, or if he's brand new to the business too. I mean, you can see if this guy, was serving, Chick-fil-A sandwiches last week and now he's your lender.
Exactly.
You may, and no shade, guys, no shade, but you may want to find a different lender because this guy's not well qualified.
So listen, I'm looking it up right now. It is mortgage.nationwidelicensingsystem.org. And you can go there and you can look this up. That's, I didn't know that. That's helpful. And I'm going to start using that, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us, especially on a Friday. Have an amazing weekend. And again, Nate, I really appreciate you coming on, man. Thanks for always adding so much value.
It's my pleasure. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care.